Pam, and we're in my kitchen again, where I share with you some of my favorite recipes or those that are most requested by my family, friends, or guests. And I did have some requests, actually. I've been making a lot of desserts, and some of my viewers asked if I could make something that wasn't sweet. Maybe something for lunch or an appetizer or a breakfast. So I thought now and then I would veer off from the norm and do something like that. So today we are going to be making an Italian antipasto appetizer called bruschetta, or you could say bruschetta, but it is not pronounced bruschetta. It is mispronounced all the time. I live on the west coast of the United States, and at least where I live, I rarely hear anybody pronounce it correctly. But you know, it's easy enough just to Google it or go on YouTube. You can actually hear them say it. Real Italian people will come on and tell you how to say it. Or you can go to Italy. But anyway, it's bruschetta or bruschetta. And it's not difficult to make. That's what I try to focus on, are easy recipes that aren't too time consuming. And this is delicious. I wish you could smell my kitchen right now. The basil and the garlic and the olive oil and the tomatoes, it all comes together and it smells so good. So I've already started chopping tomatoes. I didn't think you wanted to watch me chop all of those. I like to use Romas. They're meatier, I think, and they work well for this. I bought these out of the grocery store, but it's summertime, and if you're growing tomatoes in your garden, use whatever you have. And if you're growing basil, by all means, use that as well. But this is what I do. So I take my tomato and I split it down the middle so that the seeds are in full view. I don't like seeds in this. I don't find tomato seeds to be particularly appealing. So, and you are supposed to seed it. The original recipe did say to do that, or at least that's how the Italians did it. And so I take the seeds out. I just have a bowl next to me and just take that portion out. Now, if you cut the tomato and you don't have that nice section on each side clear, you know, it's kind of hard to find the seeds. Just stick your spoon in here and then squeeze it out. That works just as well. So then get a nice serrated knife, and we're not going to worry too much about shape or size here. You just want to dice it up. You don't want it too big because you don't want it to fall off the little toast we're going to put it on. So anyway, I'm being careful and not moving too fast because I'm famous for cutting myself. I'm not going to do it on camera. But anyway, slice up your tomatoes and then dice them the other way. I used 6 Romas. And like I said, it doesn't have to be Roma tomatoes at all. That's just what I took out of my tomatoes. Just toss that. Now, you're going to put some garlic in here. For this bowl of tomatoes, 6 tomatoes, if you're not a big garlic fan, 1 large clove would be great. My husband doesn't like garlic, so I try to cut back on the garlic, but I've got a couple here, and because I think I want to use just a few more, a little bit more garlic, I'm going to actually add 3 cloves, and he just won't eat it if he doesn't like it. Anyway, that's really, it's good with a good amount of garlic. And then take fresh basil. I got this from the grocery store, not my garden. And you use what you like, but you really are going to use quite a bit of basil. That one's bruised, so I'm just going to get rid of it. But I like to break off several leaves and chop them together. It's just easier. For my tomatoes, I used a nice serrated knife, but for the basil, just a good chopping knife. Doesn't have to be real small. That's good. ground pepper. You don't need to add salt to this because we're going to put Parmesan cheese or any kind of hard cheese that you like. It could be Asiago, Parmesan, could even be Manchego. It's not as hard as the others, but it's still good. And then we're going to add olive oil. Now, I never measure, but I would say for 6 tomatoes that you would want to add at least a 1/4 cup. And give it a stir. And I definitely want to add more basil. It's really just a matter of taste. So just put in there what you like. You want basil to be spread out throughout your tomato mixture. There. That should do it. Now, that mixed up, you want this to set on your counter at room temperature for at least 30 minutes and let those flavors just mix really well. And while it is sitting on your counter doing that, get a nice loaf of, it could be French bread. I've never done sourdough. This is Pugliese. You can find this at any of the major grocery stores. Ideally, you want bread that doesn't have a lot of holes in it, so ciabatta is not the best choice because traditionally ciabatta has big holes. This one actually had a few, the Pugliese, but I'm using it because that's what I bought. Now, you can toast this in your toaster, and it's going to take longer, but what I would recommend is just turn your oven on to broil and lay your slices in there, and when they look to be the color you like, turn them over, and then take them out when they're ready. So that's what I've done. Now, this came off of this loaf. This is rather big for an appetizer. I mean, if you were sitting down by yourself and having lunch, and this is what you were going to have, I'd leave it this size and I'd eat it. But for an appetizer, cut these in half. And then you're just going to get some of the juice underneath too, which it hasn't made a lot of juice yet, but it will. So you do that. Now I would highly recommend you use fresh grated Parmesan cheese, but to be honest with you, I didn't want to run into Costco where I buy it. Kind I like, so I just went to the grocery store. Just top it with a little grated Parmesan, and then set it on your plate and do them all the same way. And I'm not going to do these because I want the flavors to kind of mix nicely before we start eating this. But this is bruschetta, or bruschetta, not bruschetta. And it tastes and smells wonderful. And if you like garlic, even a little bit of garlic, and basil and tomatoes and olive oil, you're gonna like this. And I wanted to tell you also, don't use light olive oil. Get a nice quality olive oil. I buy mine at a little shop in Benicia, and it's real dark and strong, and that's the way we like it. But get whatever you like, but you want a nice olive oil flavor in there. And I would not substitute with another oil in this recipe. Any other oil is not going to be the same. So find an olive oil that you like. All right, I'll see you next time. Ciao.